So while Russia's tensions with NATO and UK continues to rise, the Russia-Ukraine war is nearing 3 years. And now, US President Donald Trump has warned that he will impose high tariffs and further sanctions on Russia, that is, if Russian President Vladimir Putin fails to end the war. Writing on his social media platform Truth Social, he said that by pushing to settle the war, he was doing Russia and its president Vladimir Putin, and I'm quoting here, a very big favor. Trump had earlier said he would negotiate a ceasefire in a single day, that's in the span of 24 hours. Responding to Trump's comments, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Trump had often applied sanctions against Russia in his first term as the president, adding that Russia remains ready for dialogue.
Мы очень внимательно наблюдаем, конечно, за всей риторикой, за всеми заявлениями. Мы фиксируем тщательно все нюансы. Мы остаемся готовы к диалогу, об этом президент Путин неоднократно говорил, к равноправному диалогу, к взаимоуважительному диалогу. Этот диалог имел место между двумя президентами, опять же, в бытность первого президентства Трампа. И ждем сигналов, которых пока не поступало.
Well, on Tuesday, Trump told a news conference that he would be talking to Putin very soon. Putin has on various occasions said that he is prepared to negotiate an end to the Russia-Ukraine war, but that Ukraine would have to accept the reality of Russian territorial gains, around 20% of Ukrainian territory. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reported on Thursday that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he could engage in direct peace talks with Putin if Trump provides Kiev with security guarantees, adding that he wants to secure a commitment from Trump to defend Ukraine before engaging with Putin. Zelensky signed a decree banning himself from any negotiations with Putin in the fall of 2022. But he appears to have changed his stance. The question that remains is, will Putin blink after Trump's warning? Well, we now shift our attention to the United Kingdom, where Russian spy vessels are brazenly probing UK waters, exposing potential weaknesses in the UK's defence. Speaking in the UK Parliament, Defence Minister John Healey said Yanta, a Russian spy vessel used for intelligence and mapping critical infrastructure on the sea floor, entered UK waters on Monday. And the UK Navy tracked it for 2 days until it entered the Dutch waters. Healey said that the Russian ship entered the UK exclusive economic zone about 72 kilometres off the UK coast.
I changed the Royal Navy's rules of engagement so that our warships can get closer and better track the Yantar. So far, the ship has complied with international rules of navigation.
Healey further said that this is the second time that Yanta, which is a Russian spy vessel, has entered British waters in recent months. In November last year, the ship was detected loitering over UK critical undersea infrastructure.
But, Mr. Speaker, this is the second time that Yandar has entered our waters in recent months. In November, the ship was also closely watched and detected loitering over UK critical undersea infrastructure. To deter any potential threat, I took measured steps then as part of a clear direct response to the Russian vessel.
Incidents of potential sabotage of power cables, telecom links and gas pipelines have increased in the Baltic Sea, and that is following the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022. But the frequency has increased recently. Since November last year, there have been at least 3 incidents where underwater cables have severed in the Baltic Sea. Meanwhile, Russian ships are also having a similar impact on NATO. In the Gulf of Finland, elite divers and submersible drones are being sent to the seabed to probe potential sabotages. Well, as a part of the Operation Baltic Sentry, a NATO mission to patrol and protect gas pipelines and internet cables in the Baltic Sea. A fleet of ships, including a Dutch frigate, a German mine hunter, a Dutch survey vessel, a Swedish warship and a French minesweeper are also reportedly expected to arrive soon. Furthermore, the UK has also decided to send maritime patrol and surveillance aircraft to help NATO's efforts. Now, with Healy stating that the UK would also deploy an advanced AI system to help safeguard undersea infrastructure, while the UK extends support to NATO, the situation is not so straightforward, especially domestically. UK military preparedness has reportedly crumbled. According to UK's Internal Ministry of Defence calculations, the country needs to increase defence spending to 3.6% of GDP, a staggering 56% increase from current levels, to modernize its military, protect its nuclear deterrent and also meet NATO obligations, which in light of the UK's stretched finances is reportedly impossible. And the situation for UK gets grimmer. In March last year, the Deputy Chief of Defence Staff admitted that UK forces could not sustain a conflict with Russia for more than 2 months. And that is due to major resource shortages, adding that the country does not have the ammunition and the reserves of equipment to fight a prolonged war. His comments came just a few months after an inquiry by the Commons Defence Committee, which found that UK's armed forces were not ready for a war with Russia, especially without urgent reforms to reverse a recruitment crisis in the country and also to dramatically strengthen Britain's stockpile of weapons and ammunition. The UK is clearly at a very critical juncture. It may have to invest heavily in defence or face risks of further Russia incursions. Russia is testing UK's boundaries, probing its defences, and at this moment finding them wanting. The earth is hiding secrets deep within. Beneath our feet, below the surface, there lies a realm of mystery and wonder. Our next story tells you about an astonishing find. Well, there are mountains 100 times taller than Mount Everest, hidden deep below Earth's crust. Take a look. Which is the world's tallest mountain? Mount Everest, sitting pretty at 8,848 meters. The icy peak of the mountain on the crest of the great Himalayas of southern Asia is the ultimate dream of every mountaineer. But what if we told you that it is nothing but a geological pebble compared to the planet's true giants? To know the tallest peak, we need to go deep, very deep. Imagine mountains 100 times taller than Everest, hidden in the deepest regions of our planet. These aren't mythical formations, but scientifically confirmed geological marvels lurking within the Earth's mantle. One massive rocky island sits beneath Africa, its twin nestles under the Pacific Ocean. Scientists have uncovered a geological marvel that challenges our understanding of planetary structure. In a study published in the Nature journal, researchers explain how these huge mountains reach heights of about 1,000 kilometers. These mountainous islands are not mere geological footnotes. They are billion-year-old formations existing in what researchers call a rock graveyard, a zone where tectonic plates collide and sink. Discovered through seismic wave analysis, these mountains emerge at a critical threshold between Earth's metallic core and rocky mantle. These mountains are dynamic, potentially superheated regions born from the planet's molten heart. Contrary to popular belief, Earth's mantle is not a liquid magma pool, but a semi-solid realm capable of flowing like an incredibly slow fluid. These underground mountains might be crafted from subtly different materials or superheated by proximity to the planet's incandescent core. The implications are profound. These hidden mountains demonstrate that our planet is far more complex and alive than we can comprehend. They represent an intricate dance of geological forces, a reminder that Earth's most spectacular landscapes might exist far from human perception. Bureau Report, WION World is One. Our next story is about two presidents and one tale of hypocrisy. I'm talking about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Both have used their presidential powers this week to issue controversial pardons. In his first interview after taking office, Trump suggested that former President Joe Biden should be probed and even indicated that he should have pardoned himself on his way out of the White House. While he did not specify any particular offences, Trump argued that Biden should face the same kind of legal scrutiny that he endured before being re-elected. And yes, the term pardon has surfaced quite a few times this week. First, just 15 minutes before leaving office, Biden granted a number of pardons, notably to family members such as his brothers, sisters and in-laws, as well as to members of his administration, including Dr. Anthony Fauci and General Mark Milley. These pardons were a part of a larger wave that Biden claimed were meant for non-violent federal offenders. The same day, Trump, in the first few hours of taking office, pardoned 1,550 people convicted for their involvement in the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol Hill. His move drew heavy criticism from Democrats as well as media outlets. They condemned Trump's mass clemency for the January 6 defendants, while largely overlooking former U.S. President Joe Biden's actions. The question being, what explains this hypocrisy? Haven't both presidents abused their presidential power to pardon? Then why is one labeled as bad while the other is treated as good? Haven't both Biden and Trump set a dangerous tone for future presidents? Well, let's take a step back and look back to the framing of the American Constitution. The framers had recognized that the power to pardon resembled more of a monarchical authority than that of a republic. They believed in a government of laws and not of men, as noted in the Massachusetts Constitution of 1780. Still, the tradition of royal pardons was deeply embedded in the American society, alongside the belief that even the most serious offenders deserve mercy at times. During the ratification process, the primary objection to the pardon power came from one George Mason. He argued that the president should not have the authority to grant pardons, as it could lead to self-serving decisions. Mason proposed that the presidential pardon power should not extend to treason and warned that it could allow a president to disrupt justice and potentially undermine the republic. Well, does that sound familiar to you? If it does and you're thinking of January 6th and its aftermath, well, you are not mistaken. Trump's act of pardon, while possibly fostering some degree of domestic unity, shows his personal self-interest. And the story is the same for Joe Biden. His pardons for family members, including his son Hunter, also comes from self-interest. Sure, one might argue, I would do the same for my family, but the reality is this: a president in a democratic country is expected to uphold a higher moral standard. The bottom line is, America finds itself with various pardons from both the sides. They're self-serving, something that the framers of the American Constitution wanted to avoid. Yet, here we are, both presidents have let down democracy and the people of America. Well, on to the U.S. now, where millions are crippled by rare, record-breaking disasters, fire and snow. Americans are reeling from two natural disasters, while California is witnessing fresh wildfire in LA, prompting evacuation orders for over 50,000 people. The situation is polar opposite in Texas. A rare winter storm is disrupting lives in Texas, Florida, and Louisiana. The question being, what explains these extreme climate events? Our next story telling you more.
They say man proposes, God disposes. And for California, the story cannot get more literal. Weeks after multiple fires ravaged parts of LA, and just when things were starting to settle down, more fires broke out, raising hell. On Wednesday morning, a new wildfire erupted in the rugged mountains north of Los Angeles, which rapidly spread to more than 9,400 acres. Fueled by strong winds and dry brush, it sent thick plumes of smoke into the sky. In less than 24 hours, the fire had charred nearly 16 square miles of trees and brush. That's how fast it had spread. Through the day, the fire grew bigger and more dangerous, challenging firefighters in the region who worked overnight to contain it.
Our hopes tonight are that we are able to make further progress on the fire. Hopefully the winds will subside, our relative humidities will increase, giving us the upper hand on the fire. Typically, this is when we make the most progress on the fire, allowing us to go into the next operational period ahead of where we started.
Officials warned people in the Castaic Lake area of LA County that they faced immediate threat to life. To tackle the situation, authorities have reportedly placed more than 50,000 people under evacuation orders or warnings. Meanwhile, much of Southern California remained under a red flag warning for extreme fire risk due to strong, dry winds. But that wasn't all. Late on Wednesday night, another massive brush fire broke out near Los Angeles' Bel Air neighborhood, one of the city's most affluent regions. Aerial images showed the extent of damage. Helicopters were seen flying over the giant blaze, dropping water on the fire. The firefighters are overwhelmed, as all efforts are proving to be insufficient in the face of Mother Nature. These new fires have erupted even as the Palisades fire in Pacific Palisades and the Eaton fire near Pasadena are active still. The wildfires have continued burning block after block into ash and rubble. The Californian sky has turned orange from blue due to the fires burning all around. But nature, as you know, can get unpredictable, to the point that as LA reels under fires, parts of Texas, Florida and elsewhere are blanketed in thick snow, a rare snowstorm sweeping through south of the US. Drone footage from Wednesday showed streets of Florida covered with snow. The storm is historic. It has dumped snow at levels millions haven't seen before, bringing Houston and New Orleans to a near standstill over the past 2 days, shutting schools and businesses and disrupting public life. This is the seaside of Florida, where instead of water, one can now find ice and snow. What explains this? Experts say moisture from the Gulf of Mexico combined with a low-pressure system led to this massive, unprecedented snow cover. America is reeling under both fire and snow, albeit in different parts of the country, a harsh reminder that Mother Nature always has the last word. Bureau Report, WION.
Bangladesh is facing mounting economic challenges as both public and private investments remain stagnant. Experts warn that without immediate action, the country could plunge into severe economic crisis. Unemployment was a key driver of demonstrations last year that led to Sheikh Hasina fleeing the country in August, and the economist Mohammad Yunus becoming the country's chief advisor. But since the revolution, the situation in the country has only grown worse. At the end of September 2024, the number of people seeking employment in the country of 170 million hit 2.66 million, which is a 6% increase from 2.49 million the year before. This is according to the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. Well, the International Monetary Fund warned in September last year that Bangladesh's economic activity had slowed majorly, while inflation remains at double-digit levels. According to planning advisor Dr. Wahiduddin Mahmood, private investment has been stagnant due to political instability and economic uncertainty. The manufacturing sector, including the important ready-made garment industry, is struggling with disruptions caused by labor unrest and also financial constraints. The government's expenditure has also slowed down, with economic slowdown having a direct impact on employment. Young graduates are facing difficulties in finding employment, with 87% of the unemployed workforce being educated individuals in Bangladesh.
The country is going through such a situation that the young people are getting depressed. Personally, I'm also depressed about whether I will get any job at all. It's a secondary matter whether I will go abroad. That too may happen after 1 or 2 years. I want to do something within the country first, but it's not happening.
The private sector, which provides 85% of the country's jobs, is struggling due to low investment and rising operational costs. Meanwhile, the government is emphasizing tax reforms to strengthen public spending and create employment opportunities.
Every year, 1.7 to 1.8 million new graduates enter the labor force, but our private sector is not developed that much and there are not many new opportunities as well. It's not a problem of the last 6 months or the last 2 years. Rather, we are experiencing this for the last 7 to 8 years.
Well, experts warn that without a major revival in investment and economic expansion, the middle and the lower income groups will continue to bear the brunt of rising inflation, and Bangladesh's economic and employment crisis will only worsen. The question being, can the economist Mohammad Yunus revive the country's economy, or is it already too late? Indian actor and comedian Kapil Sharma has become the latest star in Bollywood to receive a death threat. According to the Mumbai police, Sharma has joined the bandwagon of stars like Rajpal Yadav, Sugandha Mishra and Remo D'Souza, who have also received threat mails in the past few months. An FIR has been registered with Amboli police against an unknown person. Officials have said the threat email was sent from Pakistan. The email read, and I am quoting here, "We are monitoring your recent activities and we believe it is important that we bring to your attention a sensitive matter. This is not a publicity stunt or an attempt to harass you. We urge you to treat this message with utmost seriousness." That's what the email said. The sender signed off as Vishnu. Officials have further said that a reply from the star was demanded within 8 hours if they wanted to avoid facing consequences in their personal and professional lives. Now, at a time when a line of Bollywood stars are facing several threats, Mumbai police has informed that they are probing into these complaints with utmost urgency. Last week, an intruder attacked Saif Ali Khan at his Mumbai residence. The actor was stabbed 6 times and suffered grave injuries as well. During his interrogation session with the Mumbai police, the alleged attacker had revealed that he initially aimed to attack actor Shah Rukh Khan but was unable to enter his home. And that is due to his high security measures. Our top story tonight is about America. The United States is constructing a massive embassy in Beirut's Lebanon, a $1 billion fortress in the heart of the country, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. This new American embassy will be the second largest in the world, following the one in Iraq. You see, even before the construction of this embassy is completed, questions are being raised. Why is the U.S. government spending $1 billion of American taxpayers' money? That also on a new embassy complex in a country with only around 86,000 Americans. After all, Lebanon is a relatively small country. Its entire territory is just a narrow strip along the Mediterranean coast. It is also a region frequently subjected to attacks. Is this just an embassy being built, or is it more of a fortress designed to conduct secret operations in West Asia? Well, we are not asking these questions. Former British diplomat Craig Murray has published a video asking about this massive American project. The video is titled, "What the hell is that?" Have a look.
States Embassy complex here in Beirut. And what you're seeing there, that massive range of buildings, that's only a part of it. That's about a quarter of a new complex. It's being built here. That is the second largest embassy in the world, of any country anywhere in the world. The second largest embassy in the world is being constructed here in Beirut by the United States. And we can't find out officially from the State Department, but we understand that the complex is built to house 5,000 staff.
An embassy to house 5,000 staff. Murray says that the unofficial word on the street indicates that the under-construction American embassy will accommodate 5,000 staff members. Well, according to reports, this new embassy is built in the suburb of Afkar, which is around 16 kilometers from the center of Beirut, that is next to the site of the current embassy. The compound, which has been under construction since 2017, looks more like a city of its own. Sprawling over 43-acre site, the complex is larger than any government facility in Lebanon. For context, it is about 10 times the size of the one in Nine Elms, London, almost 2.5 times the size of the land the White House is built on, and almost double the Pentagon size. Well, no specific reason has been offered for building such a huge structure in Lebanon, and that also about 100 kilometers from the Lebanese border with Israel. He mentions that he used to be an ambassador and understands how embassies operate. He then asks, doesn't the idea of an embassy this big with 5,000 staff members seem a bit excessive, especially for a small country like Lebanon? What kind of an embassy requires the construction of thousands of acres of land? Well, to get more information, WION reached out to Craig Murray himself. Our correspondent Ghadi Francis sat down with the former UK diplomat, and here's what he had to say. Take a listen.
It's like no embassy I've ever seen. An embassy, a very large embassy, something like the British Embassy in Washington or the Russian Embassy in Washington, will have a maximum of 400 people working inside it. This building, this series of buildings, is being built for 5,000 people. And there's nothing in the functions of an embassy which requires that number of people or that extensive a series of buildings. And Lebanon is a tiny country. It's the size of Connecticut or Yorkshire. It has a population of 5 million or a little more. And this is the second biggest embassy in the world. Why are you building the second biggest embassy in the world as the embassy to a tiny country? The whole official story makes no sense whatsoever.
In the video Murray posted on YouTube, he speaks with Leela Hatum, editor of the West Asia-based digital outlet called MENA Uncensored, who calls the project the biggest secret in Lebanon.
What kind of an embassy is that that's built on thousands of acres of land? It has underground dungeons.
Yeah.
That includes detention cells. It has basically what you call pathways underground that lead to the sea, because that's where they have the other escape route. They do have their own helicopter pads, and basically they can fly to Cyprus in and out. And it's as if you're going into a fortified CIA barracks. That's it.
Well, according to the journalist based in Lebanon, America is building a fortress of CIA cells and detention centers. This fortress is intended to run secret prisons, spy on Lebanon and the surrounding region, and also serve as a hub for flights to Cyprus. Hatham further says that this facility is not an embassy, but rather a fortified CIA base. Is that truly what it is? A spy fortress equipped with underground cells and detention centers? If so, what are America's plans for Lebanon and West Asia? You see, the US State Department says that the primary purpose of any embassy, it is to help Americans in a host country. However, Hatum contends that this huge embassy is designed to further what she describes as a project of hegemony. She claims it will help America exert control over Lebanon and the region as a whole. Now remember, Lebanon has been the target of repeated bombings and terrorist attacks by Israel, especially late last year. The country is currently in a fragile ceasefire with Israel, which has been consistently breached through Israeli bombings of civilians north of the Blue Line demarcation, a line intended to serve as a border with Lebanon. Despite the truce, Israel has damaged and destroyed hundreds of buildings in Lebanon. That's within the first 40 days of the ceasefire. The IDF also reportedly set up various positions across southern Lebanon. Moreover, let's not forget the Israeli and American-supported Syrian rebels who recently toppled the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria. Following this, Israel reportedly took control of a major portion of Syrian territory along the Lebanese border. What then is the US planning to do in Lebanon? The country is home to only 6 million people. It is currently in the process of rebuilding after months of Israeli bombings. What is the purpose of such a huge embassy? Craig Murray suggests that it will merely facilitate a shadow Lebanese government. He claims to have worked in various embassies around the world, and he's certain that this building is not just an embassy. Our next story is from Taiwan, where a retired Taiwanese general has been accused of plotting to create an armed group that would help Chinese forces invade Taiwan. In a statement issued by the Taiwan High Prosecutor's Office on Wednesday, the former Lieutenant General named Kao On-Kao was among 6 people indicted for violating the national security law. Not just that, he has also been charged for allegedly accepting funds from China, that is to establish a pro-Beijing insurgency that can perhaps assist and help in overthrowing Taiwan's government. According to Taiwan's High Prosecutor's Office, the 80-year-old former high-ranking officer allegedly received 9.62 million Taiwan dollars from China to form an armed organization that would act like an internal collaborator. Not just that, the defendants were also accused of recruiting military personnel as well as spying on key military locations and exercises. Reportedly, using drones to carry out surveillance. Sounds like a very serious offense, one that suggests potential leaking of classified information to China from Taiwan. The statement from the Taiwan's High Prosecutor's Office read, and I'm quoting here, Kao On-Kao was a high-ranking general in Taiwan's army. He was trained and entrusted with important tasks by the nation for a very long time. He should have had strong loyalty to the nation, but for personal gain, he failed. Unquote. The prosecutors also said that Kao and his group of recruits had visited China multiple times, that's between 2018 and 2024, and that is to meet with Chinese military intelligence personnel for instructions and funding. You see, the fears of Taiwan right now are legitimate, as time and again it has come under increasing military and political pressure from China, especially since the Taiwanese people have elected presidents belonging to the Democratic Progressive Party of the DPP in Taiwan, who regard Taiwan as a sovereign state. And amid fears of Beijing accelerating plans to invade Taiwan, the US intelligence has suggested that it could happen as soon as in 2027. And Taiwan now is extra cautious, and not without good reason, especially as, in this case, the suspect in question, the Taiwanese general, has had a murky past. In 2021, Kao had published a video of himself calling on Taiwanese military officers to surrender to China and overthrow the DPP government, which raised questions regarding his motive. And now, once indicted, prosecutors have sought a minimum jail term of 10 years for Kao, while the other defendants face up to 8 years in jail. Just for context here, cases of spying in Taiwan have also been on the rise in recent times, with Taiwan reportedly saying that almost 85% of its national security cases were found to involve retired military and police officers and personnel. As per a report by Taiwan's main intelligence agency, the National Security Bureau, or NSB, just in 2024, just last year, 15 retired military veterans and 28 active service members were prosecuted, accounting for 23% and 43% respectively of all Chinese espionage cases. And as far as China is concerned, in his 2025 New Year address, Chinese President Xi Jinping had warned that no one can stop the historical trend of reunification. In light of all these events, what it means for Taiwan's national security as well as the country's future. Questions that need pondering at this point of time.